He looks at me like I'm already his, as if some invisible string tied me the moment I cross the hallway. But I'm not a toy, not a mate, and if he wants me to stay, he'll have to prove it. Every damn night, the bulb above the stairwell hums like an anxious bee, flickering in and out while I pretend I don't care that the light is failing. My boxes scrape the cracked linoleum as I shoulder them down the narrow hall of this old building, 3 floors of peeling paint, thin walls, and promises I'm not sure I can keep to myself. Fresh start, Jay. New city, new address, new rules. Rule 1, don't get noticed. Rule 2, don't get attached. Rule 3, if anything smells like danger, especially a tall, broad-shouldered kind of danger, turn around and leave. I'm sweating by the time I reach my door. The key sticks once, then again. The 3rd try it slides in with a sulk. I could swear the lock's offended that I showed up at all. Same, buddy. Same. Need a hand? The voice comes from behind me, low, steady, a warm chord strummed once. I turn, and there he is, framed by the coughing stairwell light, tall, casual, a black t-shirt doing nothing to hide muscle, jeans slouching like they're the lucky ones. His hair is mussed like he's just run a hand through it. His eyes, steady, dark, not invasive, but intent. The air shifts. It's not dramatic, not lightning. It's subtler than that, a pressure change, a sense of something aligning with a soft click I feel down my spine. My instincts shiver awake, curious traders, ears pricking like I'm built to listen for this one frequency and no other. No, absolutely not. I've got it, I say too quickly, because if I let him touch any of my boxes, the part of me wired to read meaning in the smallest acts will make it something it isn't. He glances at the packages still stacked on the stairs, then at me. Okay, he says, no push, no step closer, just, okay. He waits anyway. I can feel him waiting the way you feel a storm waiting on the other side of a window. I manage to get the door open, shoulder the first box through, and set it inside. My apartment smells like dust and lemon cleaner, like someone tried to erase what came before and got only halfway there. Floorboards stretch skinny and long into a living room with a single window and a radiator that wheezes like a heavy smoker. It's not pretty. It's mine. It's quiet. When I turn back for the next box, he's still there, one hand in his pocket, not pretending not to look. Welcome to the building, he says. I'm Luke. Across the hall, Luke. The name lands with an inconvenient weight, like a coat I didn't ask to wear but suddenly fits. He tilts his chin toward my door in a question I don't want him to ask, so I answer fast. Jay. Short, clean, like I can cut it free if I need to. Good to meet you, Jay. He nods once. If you need anything, tools, tape, a working lamp, knock. I'm fine. I look pointedly at the box in my arms, as if it's a statement about my entire life. See? Occupied, functional, not an emergency. Something in his face eases anyway, like he'd prepared for resistance and got it, the polite kind. Good, he says. Then I'll leave you to it. I don't watch him go. That would be giving the moment too much room. I only feel the hall expand when he does, the air thickening with the absence of a person who made it thinner by standing in it. I tell myself it's just the building. Old places breathe weird. I haul the next box in and the next. I build a small city of cardboard on the floor, stack bowls in the cabinet like they're breakable decisions, and set my new kettle on the stove, which looks like it survived a war, and won. My hands shake when I plug in my phone charger, and that's stupid because it's just electricity. It's not a person, it's reliable. It does what it's supposed to. He didn't push, he didn't crowd, he didn't do anything wrong. My chest still knows how to brace. Muscle memory is honest even when I'm not. By the time the daylight thins, I've placed a blanket on the couch like that alone could make it safe. And I'm sitting with my coat still on because it feels like armor. The hallway outside carries footsteps, high heels, then heavy boots, then the squeak of a bicycle tire. Every sound is a door that might be my past opening. Every silence is its shadow. I catch myself listening for his steps, for the way his weight fit the floorboards. Annoyed, I get up and shake out my hands. I put on water for tea I probably won't drink. I take my coat off and hang it on a nail because this place doesn't have coat hooks yet. I tell myself a soft place doesn't have to mean danger. That I can choose who gets to speak to me like I'm a person and not a project. My phone buzzes with a message from a number I don't recognize. I don't open it. I delete it and empty the trash. I'm ruthless with small things. It feels like control. There's a knock, 2 quick taps, friendly. I freeze anyway. It's ridiculous how fast fear can make a home in your ribs. I count to 5. Only then do I open the door. Luke holds out a bulb. Spare, he says. Your light's about to give up. Thought you might want a head start on not tripping. I look at the bulb, at his hand. His fingers are rough, a little grease darkening the creases near his thumb. The small details bloom a shape in my head. Tools, work, fixing. My throat goes tight. I start. He sets the bulb on the floor just inside my threshold, careful not to cross it. No pressure, he says. It's yours if you want it. A pause. Welcome again. My mouth moves before my caution knows what to do about it. Thanks. His smile is there and gone, like a light catching a ring and then sliding off. Anytime. He steps back. I see the way his gaze flicks to the narrow space between our feet, me inside, him out, like he's registering it, respecting it. The stir low in my body annoys me because I don't want my body to be grateful for basic decency. But it is. It's an animal that has learned to read gestures, to lean toward or away accordingly. Good night, Jay, he says. I should say it back, I don't. I nod. When I close the door, I can breathe again. And then I hate that that's true. I hate that the architecture of my lungs belongs to anyone else's presence. I press my palms flat to the wood and stand there like I'm holding a flood at bay. This is what starting over looks like, I tell myself. Not magic, not clean, just choosing a door and learning to open it when your hands remember closing better. I replace the bulb because I am stubborn and petty, and because he is right. It's about to go. The new light is clear and steady, making the room less like a rumor and more like a promise. I set the empty box from the bulb on the counter, and only then notice the tiny print on the side. Warm. Long life. Comfort White. Of course he picked Comfort White. Of course he did. When I shower, the water clangs through the pipes and comes out lukewarm at best. But it feels like washing off a day spent on the defensive. The mirror above the sink is a little fogged, a little warped, a little kind, blurring edges that have been sharp too long. My reflection looks tired and alive. I promise him, me, that I won't run at the first sign of goodness, that I'll at least pause, name the fear, then decide. I dry off. I put on an old t-shirt that says anyway across the chest, which feels like a philosophy. I make tea, and this time I drink it, even if it tastes like dust remembering water. My phone buzzes again. Another unknown number. I turn it face down. My finger hesitates, 1 heartbeat long, then moves away. I will not feed the past. Not tonight. The radiator coughs back to life, shuddering awake. The place warms by degrees. I unroll my mattress and drop onto it, then think better and lift it onto the bed frame because I refuse to meet the morning closer to the floor than I have to. When I turn off the lamp, Comfort White holds for a second as the filament cools, a soft afterglow that stings my eyes with unexpected relief. Across the hallway a laugh, his, low and short, like the air in his apartment has better stories than mine. I imagine him setting a mug on a counter, the shape of his hand around it, the way his shoulders would drop when he's alone. I don't want any of that, I tell myself. You can't want something and survive it. Wanting makes you slow, makes you easy to catch. But some wants aren't traps, some are paths. I roll onto my side and pull the blanket over my shoulder. The building settles around me with little clicks and sighs. Old wood remembering it's a ship and I'm a passenger. Somewhere inside the hum of pipes and the faint thread of city noise, my heartbeat finds a calmer rhythm, like I've moved to a place where it can finally keep time with something that isn't running. Before sleep, I admit one small thing, whispering it into the room that doesn't know me yet. He didn't push. The invisible string I felt when I first saw him tightens and loosens, not a tether, not a trap, just a line that exists whether I acknowledge it or not. I picture a hand placing a light bulb just inside a door and stepping back into the hall. I picture a voice saying welcome, and meaning it like a simple, ordinary truth. Not yours, I murmur to the dark, a promise to myself more than a threat to anyone else. But it's the first night in a long time I let the idea soften, not harden me. That I might get to decide what the string is connected to. That I can choose whether it's a leash or a lifeline. Outside, the stairwell bulb keeps humming, but the light in here holds. I sleep, and the building for once doesn't feel like it's waiting for me to fail. It feels like it's breathing with me, steady and patient, the way someone does when they promise to stay on the other side of a door and actually mean it. The city mornings are a beast of their own, horns already blaring, sidewalks crammed with people walking like they have rockets strapped to their feet. I'm not one of them. I cling to the edges, trying not to look like prey and failing, because apparently moving into a new apartment doesn't erase the tired lines under your eyes, or the fact that your shirt hasn't seen an iron since last century. I'm halfway down the block when a paper cup appears in my line of vision, steady, held out like an offering. "You look like you need this," Luke says. Of course it's him. Across the hall neighbor. Alpha-shaped problem. His hair's damp like he's just showered. He smells faintly of clean soap and coffee grounds, the kind of scent that sneaks under your guard. I stop, eyeing the cup. What is this, some kind of neighborhood tax? Coffee, he answers too calmly. Black. No sugar. I blink. You, what, stalked me to the cafe this morning? His mouth quirks. No. I guessed. You seem like the no sugar type. That shouldn't be flattering. Somehow it is. I narrow my eyes anyway. You becoming my personal delivery guy? Luke doesn't flinch. No. Just thought you looked like you wouldn't survive the morning without it. I snort because the worst part is, he's right. I snatch the cup like it's an act of defiance instead of acceptance. The warmth seeps into my fingers faster than I want it to. Don't make this a habit, I mutter, but take a sip. It's strong, good, exactly how I like it. Annoying. He doesn't follow me down the block, doesn't demand thanks, doesn't even smile like he's won. He just lifts a hand in a quiet wave and turns back toward the building. Which is more irritating than if he'd pressed. Because it makes me wonder if I'll miss it tomorrow when the coffee doesn't show up. That evening the war begins with the mailbox. The stupid little metal door jams, catching the corner of an envelope until it's wedged halfway. I tug, it resists. I mutter something unprintable under my breath and tug harder. Stuck? The voice again. Luke, leaning one shoulder against the wall like the hallway came furnished with him. I've got it, I snap, because I do not need help retrieving junk mail. But he's already crouching, steady hands brushing mine away like I'm the reckless amateur in this mailbox relationship. He fiddles with the hinge, presses at the corner. A second later, the door swings open, as if it never betrayed me at all. There, he says. I cross my arms. You alphas really think you're obligated to fix everything, don't you? He glances up, amused. Only when it's broken. I glare at him, but it's half-hearted. My mail flops into my hands. A pizza flyer, a credit card offer. Nothing worth the drama. Still, my pride takes a hit. I could have done that, I say. He tilts his head. Of course you could have. His tone is maddeningly even, like he means it. Let me guess, Luke's voice carries from the doorway. Not working? I freeze. Do you live in this building or in its walls? Because you appear every time something breaks. He grins, not even pretending to be sorry. Just lucky timing. He steps closer, squats in front of the washer and checks the coin slot. Looks jammed. I stand there with my arms crossed because this is ridiculous. My life didn't need a handyman alpha subplot. He fiddles for a minute, then gives the side of the washer a firm smack. The machine rumbles to life, water sloshing inside. There you go. He wipes his hand on his jeans, as if resurrecting appliances is casual. I stare at him, unimpressed. I hate helpful neighbors. Luke chuckles. Duly noted. I toss a sock at him, because that feels safer than gratitude. He catches it easily, raises an eyebrow, and sets it gently on the dryer before leaving like he has nothing else to prove. By the time I climb the stairs back to my apartment, the edges of my irritation have dulled into something almost like warmth. It's annoying. I don't want to enjoy the way he makes broken things less broken. But as I open my door and drop the mail on the counter, I realize the truth. I'm starting to expect his timing. Like some part of me listens for footsteps in the hall, the way you wait for the kettle to whistle. I sip the coffee I swore I wouldn't accept, now cold but still strong, and mutter to myself, I really hate helpful neighbors. The words don't land as heavy as I want them to. They sound suspiciously like a smile. It starts small, a scrape of boot on tile, a door hushes shut across the hall. My shoulders go tight like a pulled thread, and then humiliatingly loosen when I realize it's him. Luke. His scent gets there before he does sometimes. Not cologne exactly. Clean soap, coffee, warm metal, rain on pavement. It slides under the door like a weather report my body listens to without asking my permission. Instincts tilt toward it. I tilt away. No. It's just chemistry. I don't owe it anything. I open my window to let the November air smack me in the face. It helps. A little. The radiator gives an offended clank and goes quiet, like even the building disapproves of my coping strategies. Down the hall, keys jingle. My pulse bumps against my throat. I shove my hands into my hoodie pocket, pretend I'm very interested in my grocery list. Bread, tea, dish soap. The kind of essentials you buy when you're trying to prove you're a functioning adult and not a walking alarm bell. I make it all the way to the corner store without drama. The place is bright in the way that only midnight stores manage. Harsh fluorescence, buzzing coolers, aisles too narrow for two full-grown adults to pass without intimacy. I drift past cereal and canned soup, and end up staring at a pyramid of oranges. They smell like mornings that belong to other people. I pick the milk that expires furthest in the future, because hope is a muscle, and I'm trying to use it. At the register, the cashier calls me honorable, and asks if I want a bag. I say yes even though I brought my own. Small rebellions, new habits, something. The bell above the door rings as I step back into the night. The air has that deep city cold, as if the sky forgot to put a blanket over this part of town. I tuck the bag close and start walking. Pavement gleams under the streetlight. The shadow that falls just behind mine isn't threatening. Steady, measured, not crowding. I don't have to look to know. Jay, Luke says, like the word is a good evening. Hey. I keep walking. My breath fogs and disappears. His doesn't quite catch mine. He keeps a half-step distance that feels practiced, respectful in the way that makes my skin prickle with reluctant gratitude. Late run? He asks. Apparently I only buy groceries when the sun's off duty. He huffs a laugh. Same. We cross the street together. The kind of together that's mostly separate. He doesn't ask for my bag. He doesn't reach for my elbow at the curb, which is exactly why some reckless part of me wants him to. The desire irritates me enough that I walk faster. At our building, the stairwell bulb hums like it's trying to remember how to be a star. We climb. His steps find a rhythm with mine, not overtaking, not falling behind. When I reach my floor, I stop. So does he. The hall is a narrow slice of old paint and old promises. My door is 10 paces away, his is 4. The silence that settles between us is not empty, it's crowded with everything I told myself not to notice. I turn, because if I don't, I'll be thinking words at his back all night. Why are you always around? It comes out sharper than I intend. A defensive edge honed and ready, the kind that used to keep me safe. Luke leans his shoulder against the wall, hands easy in his pockets. He doesn't take the bait. He just meets my eyes. Steady, not pushing, not apologizing for existing. Because you look like you want someone to be around, he says simply, but you're afraid to ask. My laugh is too fast. That's a generous interpretation. It's an honest one. He nods at the grocery bag like it's a translator. And for the record, I don't mind being the person you don't have to ask. Something shifts in my chest, a plate sliding into place where the ground used to be broken. It would be so easy to step onto it, to test the weight. I hate that I want to. I hate that the wanting is a soft ache instead of a sharp warning. No, I say. Because the word is a railing I know how to hold on to. It's just chemistry. I don't owe it anything, and I don't owe you anything either. I know. The corner of his mouth lifts, not quite a smile. You don't. I should feel victorious. Instead I feel seen. The way you feel seen when someone notices the bruises you painted over, not to embarrass you, but to make sure you can breathe under the makeup. You always have an answer, I mutter. Only when you ask a question. He glances at my door. I can go, you already are going, I say, because the hallway is a map of boundaries and he's been reading it fluently since I met him. He nods. Good night, Jay, my name again. It sits in the air like a candle that doesn't demand you blow it out. He pushes off the wall, turns toward his door, then pauses. Do you need me to walk you the last 10 steps? The way he says it tells me he'll take no for an answer and mean it. I shake my head. I'm good, he echoes, and this time the word isn't a test I'm failing. It's a hand set carefully on the table and pulled back. He disappears into his apartment. The hall expands. The hum of the stairwell bulb fills in the place where his voice was. I unlock my door and step inside. The quiet catches me off balance. I drop the bag on the counter and stand there stupidly staring at a carton of milk like it can adjudicate my emotional life. Body, why are you like this? It has no answer. It has signals. Signals like the tiny shift of weight when Luke stands close and doesn't press closer. The way my breath hesitates at the edge of my teeth, as if waiting for a cue. The way relief feels like a second heartbeat when a touch doesn't come that I didn't ask for. The way want doesn't ring like danger anymore. It rings like possibility, and that terrifies me more. I put the milk in the fridge. I line the tea up in the cabinet like a parade. I peel an orange, and the scent rises, and suddenly I'm thinking of his coffee in the morning, the one I didn't ask for and accepted anyway. The peel spirals into the sink. I rest my palms on the counter and bow my head just for a second. You're fine, I tell the tile. You're fine. My phone buzzes on the table. Unknown number. The past has learned new disguises. I flip the phone over. The buzzing stops. The relief is violent in its speed, like coming up from underwater. A knock taps at my door. 2 light taps. My heart sprints, then stumbles, then catches itself. I open the door a sliver. A small paper bag sits on the floor. No person attached. I look left. Empty hall. Right. Empty. I open the bag like it might bite me. Tea bags, the good kind, a sticky note on top. Comfort White is for light. This is for breathing. L. I lean my head against the doorframe and let a laugh break out of me. Quiet and sharp. The kind that makes your ribs ache after. Infuriating, thoughtful. Who gave him permission to be a person? I place the bag on the counter and make tea because I'm weak and because breathing is non-negotiable. The kettle screams. I hush it with a towel. Steam curls up into a halo I don't deserve. The first sip is a slow hand on the back of my neck. Easy, steady, here. In the silence that follows I hear it. The soft thud of a mug being set down across the hall. A voice, low and warm, talking to no one. Maybe to a plant. Maybe to the kind of lonely that doesn't need to be dramatic to be true. I move to the door, press my palm to the wood where I did last night. The invisible string is there, sure. But tonight it's looser. Less like a tether. more like a line you drop into dark water, not to catch something but to see if there's a current. "Why are you always around?" I had asked. "Because you look like you want someone to be around, but you're afraid to ask," he answered. The words echo in the apartment in a way that isn't haunting. They hang like notes on a staff waiting for the next bar. I don't open the door. I don't need to. I just drink my tea and let the fear and the flicker sit together without deciding which one wins tonight. The radiator grumbles back to life. The light holds steady. I put the empty paper bag in the drawer with my spare bulbs, like the two belong together, small things that make rooms survivable. And because I'm reckless in microscopic ways now, I pull out a sticky note of my own and write, "Thanks. For the light. For the breathing." I slide it under his door, then walk back to my couch before I can think better of it, my heart a drum that doesn't quite know if this is a march or a dance. Maybe both. Evenings have a way of magnifying whatever you've been pretending not to feel. The old radiator sighs warm air. My window throws a soft square of city light across the floor, and the kettle spits little warning sounds like a fussy bird. The apartment smells faintly of orange peel and laundry soap. Ordinary survivable things. Safe. I'm not. Luke's note from last night is still on my counter. "Thanks. For the light. For the breathing." My handwriting looks steadier than I felt writing it. He slid his reply back under my door this morning. "Anytime." 2 syllables, dangerous in their calm. I tell myself I'm going to read, to ignore the way my body has learned the shape of his footsteps through the wall, the way I know when he sits, when he stands, when he laughs at something small. I make tea. I drink it. It doesn't touch the restless place. By 9, the floorboards betray me. I'm standing at my door, hand hovering over the knob, the good sense shouting into a pillow while the reckless part of me whispers, "You can knock. It's just knocking. You can survive knocking." I don't. I open the door instead and find him already there, like the hall arranged us without asking. "Hey," he says. His voice does that warm chord thing, steady, grounded. He's in a worn t-shirt and sweatpants, hair damp like he showered after a run. He smells like soap, and something quieter I'm not going to name. "Do you?" I start. My tongue trips. I made too much tea. It's a lie. The kettle is empty. But he nods like I've offered a real thing, then follows me in without crossing any invisible lines. He stands just inside, hands in his pockets, waiting for me to set the map. I put water on again. The world shrinks to small sounds, flame catching, tin expanding, my own pulse misbehaving. The quiet between us isn't heavy. It's a net, and I don't know which of us is holding it. "You didn't have to reply," he says finally, tilting his chin toward my counter and the note. "But I'm glad you did." "I didn't have to knock," I say, then correct myself, cheeks heating, "Open." "I didn't have to open." He smiles at the correction like it's a gift. "You opened." The kettle hum turns to a simmer. My breath forgets its choreography. I pour water over leaves that aren't there yet because I didn't put any in the strainer, because my hands are performing panic like a misplaced dance step. I curse softly at myself and fix it. Luke pretends not to notice, which is worse than commenting because it means he understands. I keep thinking I'm a closed door, I tell the sink. Turns out I'm a door that creaks but still opens. Creaks are honest, he says. I laugh, startled and sharp, then set 2 mugs on the table and realize that at some point my body carried me closer to him, my shoulder a breath from his arm. My nerves flare like live wire. He doesn't move, he doesn't move. Something in me decides that's enough proof for tonight. I turn, fingers catching the hem of his t-shirt, and rise up on my toes. His breath hits, warm, surprised. I kiss him. It's not fireworks, it's a shift. A room-finding level. He meets me where I am, no more, no less. His mouth is patient, careful, like a promise not to step on the broken tile. The world narrows to the precise temperature of his skin, the steadiness of his hand hovering at my waist and then settling, lightly, so lightly I could walk away and he'd catch air. Want surges through me, not a flooding, but a tide that finally admits it's the moon's fault. I lean in, fingers splaying against his ribs. He makes a sound in his throat, soft, involuntary, and the part of me that catalogs every small mercy writes it down in permanent ink. And then the old film reel flickers, white hot and nauseous. My chest locks, my mouth goes cold, my body remembers a script I didn't approve. A hand getting heavier when I went still, a voice saying don't start what you can't finish like a threat. The floor tilts. Stop, I hear. It's my voice, thin and far away. Stop. Luke is already gone from the space he was in. The absence is immediate, absolute. Warmth retreats an inch and then a mile. His hands are up, palms open, distance measured in safety. He steps back like the floor is a living thing that can bruise. It's okay, he says, calm like a blanket. I won't. The room breathes for me when I can't. I grip the back of a chair. The kettle clicks as it turns itself off. My throat burns, eyes stinging with something ugly and unearned, because nothing happened, and that's the point. Nothing happened because he stopped. My body tries to reconcile it in real time. Touch, want, fear, stop, space. The gears grind. Sparks. I'm sorry, I manage. The words taste like failure. Don't be. He shakes his head once, gentle. You didn't do anything wrong. My brain. I tap the side of my skull too hard. It does this. Brains do things, he says, and the corner of his mouth lifts, not mocking, just reminding me that he's still a person with humor in his pocket. I'm not going anywhere. I try to laugh. It comes out a broken thing. You literally just went somewhere, away from me, because you asked. He glances at the mugs like he's giving me somewhere else to put my eyes. We can drink tea, or I can go, or I can sit on the other side of the door if you want a voice but not a body in the room. The suggestion knocks something loose in my chest. Tears threaten, which is rude and unnecessary. I blink them back, furious at their timing. Stay, I say, surprising both of us. Here. Just sit. We sit. He takes the chair across from me, far enough that the space between us could fit a new version of me if she showed up. We hold steaming mugs like talismans. The first sip scalds my tongue, and somehow helps, pain translated into a cleaner language. I hate that this is a thing, I say. That my body keeps a ledger I didn't write. He nods. Ledgers can be amended. Is that what you do? Fix jammed mailboxes and broken appliances and traumatized men? His eyes warm. 2 out of 3 on a good day. I huff something like a laugh. The room steadies around the sound. The tea goes down easier. The tremor in my hands becomes a shiver, then a sigh. We talk about nothing. The neighbor with the shoes that squeak. The way the stairwell light makes everyone look like they're in a noir movie. Luke tells me he once kept a plant alive for 3 years by forgetting it existed and letting it fend for itself. I tell him that sounds like my 20s. We don't touch the perimeter of what just happened. We also don't pretend it didn't. When he leaves, he does it the same way he stopped, careful, announced. Good night, Jay. Good night, I say, and the words don't feel like a door slamming. They feel like a porch light left on. Silence takes up residence the next morning and refuses to pay rent. We don't text because we don't have each other's numbers, and somehow that feels correct. We don't knock. We don't stage coffee in hallways or slide notes like smuggled truths. The quiet is not punishment, it's convalescence. Day 1. I fold laundry that doesn't need folding. I reorganize my spoons. I listen hard for footsteps and tell myself I'm not listening. Day 2. I take the long way around the block to avoid the cafe I'm pretty sure he likes. I buy a donut I don't eat. Sugar makes a poor substitute for nerve. Day 3. The building's rumor mill wakes up. On the second floor landing, Mrs. Alvarez corners me with a smile that is 70% sweet and 30% detective. You and your handsome neighbor, she says, wagging a finger at the air between us. So cute. I choke. We are not. There is no. She pats my cheek like I'm a sitcom. Men always say that. I escape. only to be trapped at the mailboxes by skateboard kid from 3 billions, who nods solemnly at me and declares, "You two are endgame." He rolls away before I can Google a rebuttal. When I reach the stairs, Luke is heading down, a bag of trash in one hand, a look of mild amusement in his eyes like he's already endured a similar gauntlet. "Apparently," I say, because humor is a safer weapon than denial, "we're a couple now." "Apparently," he agrees, perfectly pleasant. "Like we've been married for 7 years and share a dog." Heat rockets to my face. We are nothing. We are neighbors. Good neighbors, he says, utterly unbothered. "Stop being agreeable," I snap, and immediately want to yank the words back, because they sound like a kink I did not mean to announce. He barks a laugh. It cracks something open in me, a pressure valve releasing. I try to scowl. It fails. Mrs. Alvarez calls from her doorway. "Have a nice date. I start. Taking out the trash, Luke finishes smoothly, lifting the bag like Exhibit A. I throw my hands up. "This building is a menace." "Gets good light though," he says, and tosses me a look that lands somewhere between fond and careful. "You okay?" The question arrives like a soft arrival of weather. I nod. "I will be." He accepts that answer without upgrading it into a promise I can't keep. "Good," he says. "I'll be around." "Because I look like I want someone to be around," I mutter. "And you're afraid to ask," he adds, not unkindly. I make a face. "You memorize your own lines?" "Only the true ones." We pass on the stairs, a measured space between our shoulders that feels like respect, not retreat. Down in the lobby, the front door sticks. He opens it, then steps aside to let me go first. I do, because small victories count. Outside, the afternoon is brisk and bright, the kind of light that shows you everything and makes you think maybe you can stand to look. Back upstairs later, alone with my tea and the note on my counter, I replay the moment, the kiss, the stop, the words. "It's okay. I won't." I didn't know the script could be rewritten mid-line. I didn't know an alpha could choose to be a pause instead of a period. It's not trust yet. It's not even relief. It's the first crack in the wall where light gets curious. I don't press on it. I let it be. I let it breathe. And for the first time in a long time, the quiet in my apartment feels like rest, not punishment. The kind of quiet you earn by being brave enough to open a door and brave enough to say stop. Both truths can live in the same room. The power goes out in the middle of a Tuesday like it's offended by the day. 1 second my apartment hums. Radiator wheezing, fridge purring, lamp casting comfort white, then everything inhales at once and forgets how to exhale. Darkness slides in fast and total, the kind that makes the building feel older, closer. I'm at my door with the trash when it happens, reaching for the knob, already bracing for the hinge squeal. The hall beyond is a slice of dim stairwell bulb dead, emergency lights not interested in emergencies. I step through, and the door snags. The frame shifts with a dull clunk like the whole place realigned its spine and left me in the ribcage. The trash bag falls and splits. Coffee grounds scatter like damp confetti. I turn to pull the door shut so I can try again later, but the latch sticks halfway, the old metal grinding, my breath going thin. I pull. It resists. I yank. The frame gives a fraction, then bites harder. Air shrinks. The hall tilts. My hands know this choreography too well. Push, pull, fail, brace, colder air sneaking past my throat while my chest forgets the rhythm. I'm not trapped. I am not trapped. The floor is under me, the door is ordinary. None of this is a room I remember too well. I press my forehead to the wood, counting like the internet taught me. 4 in, 6 out. Somewhere downstairs, someone swears and bangs a cupboard. The sound ricochets. My heart stutters into a sprint. The scrape of a shoe. A warm patch of dark shifts near my peripheral. "Jay?" Luke's voice, lower than usual, softened for the dark. "You good?" I try for yes. It fractures on the way out. Doors, stuck. Keys jingle, then stop. He doesn't come closer. His shadow pauses a respectful distance away. Okay. It's probably the frame swelling. Old buildings do that when the power cuts and temperatures swing. A beat. I'm here. Just breathe. You don't have to open it if you don't want to. The words find a place in the panic and wedge it open enough for air. I don't move. My hands tremble on the knob. I know it's stupid. It's not, he says, easy as gravity. Breathing first. Then doors. I match him inhale for inhale, like we're learning a duet through a wall. The edges of the hallway return. Smell of old paint, something vaguely lemon from someone's cleaner. The ghost warmth where the stairwell light used to be. My palms ease. My jaw unclenches and aches with the release. Better? He asks after a while, not checking his watch. Not checking me. It comes out like a question the first time. I try again. Good. I hear the gentlest scrape, him lowering to sit with his back to the opposite wall. I'm going to stay right here. If you want to open the door, I'll help you get it unstuck. If you don't, I'll keep the hallway company until the lights come back. The option loosens something further. Choice. My fingers loosen on the metal. Don't. I swallow. The word is a bridge that feels like a ledge. Don't go. He doesn't make a sound of triumph. He just answers like I asked him to hold a book while I tie my shoe. Okay. I laugh, shaky. That's it? No, of course, or always, or whatever people say in movies. Those are big words for the dark, he says. Little ones are easier to carry. We sit like that for a while. Me with my temple against the cool door, him breathing a yard away, close enough for my brain to map safety onto the air. When I'm ready, I clear my throat. I'm going to try the door. Got you, he says, and stands. The soft thump of his palm bracing the outside of the frame. On 3, I'm going to pull the frame a hair while you turn the knob. If it doesn't go, we stop and try again when you want. Okay. He counts, low and steady. 1, 2, 3. The knob turns, the frame gives, and the door frees with a sulking squeal. I stay where I am, my body lagging behind the fact. It takes a second for information to travel the length of me, not trapped. Not trapped. Luke doesn't step in. He waits at the threshold, visible now as my eyes adjust, the outline of him shoulders a clear shape in the murk. Hi, he says softly, like the word knows how to hold my ribs. Hi. My voice is embarrassingly wrecked around the edges. Want to come over? He asks. I have candles and a kettle that's not electric. The thought of my apartment, its newly treacherous door, its sudden quiet, makes my stomach tilt. Yeah, I say. Okay. He offers me his wrist instead of his hand. I appreciate the precision. I don't take it. I don't need to. We walk next to each other down the hall, a foot of space like a good idea between us. His apartment smells like cedar, and clean cotton, and the faint memory of coffee. Candles bloom careful islands of light across surfaces, the counter, the coffee table, a low shelf with a plant that's either thriving or very good at faking it. He's tidier than I expected in a way that feels unperformed. A blanket is tossed over the back of the couch. A mug sits on the counter like it lives there. Sit wherever, he says, setting an old metal kettle on the stove and striking a match. The flame flares and settles. The sound is cozy in a primitive way, as if fire unlearns fear on contact. I take the far end of the couch. He takes the chair across, a generous diagonal. The kettle starts to fuss. The building creaks like a ship navigating shallow water. What happened? He asks after a minute, gently. Not about the door, about me. I stare at the candle on the table, the wick haloed, the wax pooling like a small lake. The dark makes everything louder, I say. The door was a lot. Yeah. He doesn't fill the silence with fixes. He just lets the room agree. I could leave it there. We could drink tea and talk about the weather and wait for the power to make us brave by ending the conversation for us. But the crisis left a soft place behind. Raw maybe, but honest. It feels wrong not to use it. My ex didn't like doors, I say eventually. He liked locks, Not because they were safe, because they made him the only key. Luke's jaw works once. He sets 2 mugs down carefully. You don't have to, I know. I wrap my hands around the mug, not drinking, letting the heat speak first. He was the kind of person who read my flinch like an invitation. I learned how to not flinch. I learned how to laugh at the wrong times. How to keep the peace by folding myself into something that fit his idea of me. My throat tightens. I thought that made me clever, adaptive. But then I forgot how to unfold. Luke doesn't move. His attention doesn't spear me, it shelters. I'm sorry, he says, simple as a light turning on. I used to think if I didn't name it, it wouldn't be true. The tea breathes steam into my face, my eyes sting. But my body kept the minutes, doors, lights, hands that didn't stop when I did. The fact hangs between us, quiet and obscene in its simplicity. He doesn't interrogate it. He doesn't say not all alphas or I'm not like that. He lets it be the weather, and adjusts his posture to keep me out of the rain. I don't want you to fix me, I say, and it sounds childish, defensive, like I'm pre-arguing with a person who hasn't argued back. I wouldn't know where to start, he says with a small wry curve of his mouth. I can fix mailboxes and washing machines on lucky days. People are not appliances. The laugh that escapes me is better than the one that came out earlier. Looser. I noticed. He leans back, elbows on his knees, still giving me space with his body while offering me closeness with his attention. I'm not waiting for you to trust me, he says then, voice low enough that the words find the echo they deserve. I'll just stay until you believe you can. The sentence lands somewhere I didn't know had room. I close my eyes because I want to remember the exact way it feels, not a claim, not a promise I didn't ask for. An intention, a posture. I don't even know what trusting you would look like, I admit. A signed affidavit? A lack of heart palpitations in stairwells? It might look like this, he says, not gesturing grandly, just tipping his chin toward the space between us. You telling me something hard. Me not making it about me. Both of us surviving the silence. I sip the tea. It's strong and a little bitter, which suits me. Outside, someone tries the stairwell switch and remembers it doesn't work. Inside, the candle pops. The plant on the shelf looks like it made a vow to live. I said don't go, I hear myself murmur, embarrassed and a little proud at the same time. You did. No smugness. Only the soft satisfaction of someone trusted with a small stone from a pocket. And you didn't. I won't, he says. Then, a beat later, catching himself, I won't tonight. I'll do my best on the nights after. Little words, I remind him, and he grins. Right. Okay. We talk about nothing again because nothing is the language of relief. He tells me his kettle came from a yard sale, dent included. I confess I name my appliances to bully myself into maintaining them. He admits the plant thrives when ignored. I call it his healthiest relationship to date. He laughs. It lights the room better than the candles. When the power finally clunks back on, fridge humming, lights blinking, radiator rejoicing, we both blink against the sudden brightness. The world looks a little naked without the gentle permission of the dark. I gesture vaguely toward my door, now an ordinary rectangle instead of a threat. I'll walk you, he says, then adds, to the hall. We do the 10 paces together. At my threshold he stops like he promised he would. Thank you, I say. The words feel risky and right. Any time, he answers, same as the note, but it carries more detail now. Candles and tea, and a breath counted on the other side of a door. I rest my hand on the jamb. It's just wood again. Good night, Luke. Good night, Jay. I close the door because I want to sleep without drafts, not because I'm shutting anything out. In the bright ordinary of my apartment, the quiet isn't an accusation, it's rest. I rinse the mug I didn't drink from, and set it upside down to dry. I pick up the split trash bag and start sweeping grounds into a dustpan, and it feels almost ceremonial. collecting what spilled when the dark came fast. I catch my reflection in the window, softer around the mouth maybe. Less braced. The building settles, a satisfied exhale. Somewhere across the hall, a kettle cools. Somewhere closer, in the middle of my chest, something that has been locked for years tries the handle, surprised to find it moves. Time doesn't heal so much as it gives you room to practice. Weeks spread out like clean sheets and we try not to wrinkle them. Some days we fail. That's practice too. On Saturdays the market on Maple comes to life like a staged miracle. Bright tarps, crates of winter citrus, voices floating above bargaining like birds above a river. Luke and I fall into the kind of together that's mostly practical. Two people walking in the same direction for the same reason. He carries the heavy bag without asking. I let him, sometimes, because the cost of that fight is greater than the weight of apples. The omegaverse thing settles into the background like weather. My body registers him before my eyes do, instinct playing its old instruments. But the song's different now. Not a siren, not a fire alarm. Something closer to a hum I can think over. I still flinch at sudden noise. He still slows his movements in tight spaces. We both pretend we're not working at it as hard as we are. At a stall where a woman sells bread still steaming from its paper sleeves, Luke reaches for a sourdough, and I reach for the same one. Our fingers brush. Electric in the smallest way. He doesn't pull back like I'm a socket. He also doesn't wrap his hand around mine. He just leaves that fraction of shared heat where it happened, and pays. You're going to pretend you picked that loaf for the crust, I say as we walk. And not because it's the exact one I wanted. I'm a man of sophisticated taste, he says. I can recognize quality when I see it, in bread or in company. He considers. Yes, I roll my eyes, but the smile sneaks up on me, and refuses to be disciplined. We argue in low-stakes ways that teach us the shape of each other's stubbornness. He believes cilantro belongs in everything. I insist it tastes like licking a battery. He stacks plates the wrong way. I fold towels the way a petty god intended. We keep our voices gentle, because we learned the hard way that volume can sharpen more than it clarifies. When we catch ourselves bristling, one of us names it like calling a dog to heel. I'm bristling, I'll say, hands up. He'll nod and step back and breathe. And then we will approach the plate stacking problem like it's a puzzle instead of a referendum on our worth. On his kitchen counter, lemons and herbs line up like ideas. We develop a ritual. I chop, he sautés. We both burn the first attempt at anything as an offering to the gods of humility. The stove's pilot light is fussy. The pan hisses in a language we're learning. I'm not good at letting people into my process. He isn't good at asking for help. Somehow, cooking teaches both. Hand me the time, he says one night. A request so simple it should be meaningless. It isn't. I pass it over. Our fingers graze again. No lightning, only heat. Do you ever worry about doing it wrong? I ask. Cooking. Being good. The word lands between us like it might break on impact. His jaw flexes. The pan sizzles. Every day, what does wrong look like to you? He flips the chicken and considers. Looks like pressure where there should be room. Looks like my fear taking the wheel when it wasn't invited, and right? Looks like you breathing easier, he says, not looking up. It feels less like a declaration and more like a working definition we can adjust. Looks like me trusting you to tell me when I'm getting it wrong. Later, after we eat at his tiny table, he admits he's been reading about trauma responses, and I pretend not to see the tab open on his laptop titled, "Why Shutting Down Isn't Rude." I pretend not to know that he saved screenshots in a folder named Tools. The care isn't a performance, it's a study. We don't talk about sex like it's a bomb we're circling. Instead, we move toward each other, the way you learn a path in the dark. Step, pause, listen. There are touches that stay touches, not preludes. There are nights when we fall asleep on opposite ends of the couch with a blanket bridging our shins like a truce. He starts leaving his door unlocked when he's home. I start walking the 10 paces to knock when the quiet gets too loud. Some nights he doesn't answer because he's not there. Some nights I don't go because the fact I could is enough. I say no to things I can't do, and the world does not end. He says no to being my solution, and the world does not end. Somewhere in between, a new world starts pretending it's old. On a Thursday after too many meetings and too much noise, we end up back at my place with a bag of market pears and a wedge of cheese that cost more than my first bicycle. The sunset puts a copper edge on the buildings across the street. Comfort white warms my walls like a habit I've chosen. Luke leans against my counter while I slice fruit with the too-sharp knife I promise not to use when I'm distracted. "Tell me something you want," he says, half teasing, half serious. I consider. "A plant I won't kill?" He grins. "Ambitious, and," I add, surprising myself, "a night where I don't argue with my own bones." The grin fades into something softer. Okay, we eat in companionable quiet. The pears drip down our wrists, we lick sweetness off without making a big deal about it. My apartment smells like fruit and dish soap and the low thrum of heat. The building exhale is familiar now. The window throws back our silhouettes, two people learning the shapes of standing near. I realize at some point that my shoulders aren't at my ears. I realize that his hands, resting on the counter, haven't twitched toward me once. I realize I want to be the one to close the distance, not because I should, or because he will if I don't, but because I want to. It is the wanting that startles me more than the fear. "Hey," I say, and it comes out too soft. He looks up. "Yeah? Come here." My voice doesn't tremble. My hands do, a little, that's fine. I've learned that trembling isn't consent, and it isn't refusal, it's weather. It passes. He doesn't move until I do. I step forward and set my palms on his ribs, where his shirt lifts when he breathes. He inhales, slow, deliberate, like he doesn't want to steal my air. I rise on my toes and he bends just enough to meet me where I am. The kiss is deliberate, warm, the kind of kiss you start when you've spent months learning to speak without words. If panic is a stray dog, tonight it stays on the other side of the street. The old film reel tries to load and finds it doesn't fit the projector. My body takes cues from the present, the way his hand waits on my waist and then asks instead of takes, the way he makes a sound into my mouth that is gratitude disguised as surprise, the way the room stays the size it is, not the size of someone else's need. "I'm okay," I say against his lips when my breath hitches. "Keep like that." "Okay," he says, and the word is a promise scaled to the moment. We move in degrees. Shirt hems, not buttons. Skin that tastes like salt and pears. The couch, then the floor because my rug is softer than it looks. Then, when stopping to relocate would mean losing nerve, my bedroom, a place that used to feel like a dare and now feels like a decision. I'm the one who climbs onto the bed and pats the space beside me. He stands in the doorway like a man being invited into a temple. He doesn't cross the threshold until I say, "Luke." He laughs breathlessly like the sound is a shared secret and comes to me. What we do is simple. It's not a movie scene with swelling strings and swooping camera. It's hands, warm and careful. It's mouths that learn where the other person keeps their yes. It's pauses that ask and permission that answers. It's bodies that aren't puzzles to be solved but rooms to be entered with a kind of reverence we never got taught and somehow found anyway. When I spook, because I still do, in a flicker when his weight shifts and the mattress dips, he goes still instantly, his forehead resting against mine like a touchstone. "Here," he murmurs, not moving until my breath matches his again. When I nod, he smiles into my cheek and continues exactly where we were, as if the panic was a hiccup and not a thesis. There is heat, yes, and breath, and the slide of skin over skin, that makes my instincts sing not in warning but in relief. There is also laughter, real and unplanned, when a knee hits a pillow wrong, and we almost tumble off the bed like teenagers. There are new sounds I didn't know belonged to me, and I watch him hear them like he's being handed a key, and is careful not to scratch the lock. After, when the room is a soft mess of sheets and our shirts are vaguely nearby, we lie on our backs and let the fan move the air. Night leans against the window. My heart performs a steady drumline. I listen, a little awed by its competence. "Not to ruin the moment," I say into the ceiling, "but I think I owe your plant an apology. I judged it too harshly. He laughs, voice low and wrecked in a way that makes me want to record it for the bad days. It'll accept reparations in the form of sunlight and tap water. Reasonable demands. Silence settles. Comfortable. Gloved. Then his voice. Can I tell you the thing I didn't say out loud, because it sounded weak in my head? I turn my face to him. The street light paints his profile in borrowed gold. Yeah, I was scared, he says. The word doesn't tremble, it lands. Not of going too slow or too fast, I can take cues. I was scared of losing you by being careful and still not careful enough. I was scared that every stop would sound like rejection and every move would sound like pressure. I was scared because I want you and I don't trust want not to wreck what it touches. The honesty opens a door in the room we didn't know was there. I feel the draft of it. I feel the relief. I don't want to be handled, I say. I want to be chosen. Some nights the difference will be small as a breath, but I'll know it. His hand finds mine on the sheet. We don't interlace fingers, we line them up, palm to palm, finding the points of contact and letting the rest be space. I'll learn the difference with you, he says. I look at our hands. I look at him. I think about all the doors I've pried shut with my body, because I thought that was the only way to be safe, and how opening one tonight didn't flood the room, it just let the air in. I'm not yours, I say, and the words aren't a weapon this time, they're a lens. But tonight I choose to stay. He exhales like someone who's been holding his breath in secret for months. When he looks at me there's relief in it, and joy, and something softer than victory. Then I'm finally safe, he says. We lie there, the two of us, under a ceiling that used to feel like a lid, and now feels like shelter. The market pears are a memory on my tongue. The lemon thyme from our earlier experiment lingers on his skin. The fan clicks when it turns, the building breathes. I do too. We fall asleep with the door to my room slightly open. I used to think safety meant locked. Tonight it means draft and the possibility of footsteps I invited. Somewhere out in the stairwell, the bulb hums its steady hum. Somewhere closer, on this bed, a new kind of quiet chooses us back. Practice isn't just for surviving anymore. It's for this, whatever this is, want that doesn't cost me myself, closeness that leaves room for air, a night not argued with. This is what choosing looks like when I'm the one doing it, soft, present, mine. The morning smells like toast and burnt ambition. That's my fault. I tried to make breakfast before Luke got here, and the pan decided we were reenacting the Great Fire of London. Smoke still curls from the window I cracked open, a gray ribbon of my culinary defeat. Luke leans against my counter, holding a carton of eggs like a man who has already claimed victory. You're banned from pans, he says deadpan. I was experimenting, I protest, waving the spatula like a defense attorney with weak evidence. True pioneers are never understood in their time. Pioneers also died young, he points out. Usually from eating things they shouldn't. I scowl, but the corners of my mouth betray me. Fine, you cook, but I'm supervising. He cracks eggs one-handed, show off, while I perch on the counter like a cat pretending ownership of the kitchen. The sizzle is confident, steady, unlike mine. He hums under his breath, some song I don't know, low and warm, and the room feels stitched together by it. Ordinary, which is extraordinary. You know, I say, stretching the words out just to see his shoulders tighten a little, you act like you own this place. I don't, he replies, flipping the eggs. I just rescue it from you. I tilt my head, feigning deep thought. So basically, you think I'm yours. He glances over, eyebrow raised, lips quirking like he's prepared for a fight he wants to lose. Do I? Definitely, I say, smug. But here's the thing, I still think I'm not ready. He sets the spatula down, leans one hip against the counter beside me, and meets my eyes with a patience that should be illegal. Then I'll wait. The words should press. They don't. They land like a blanket thrown over my shoulders, warm, chosen, mine to shrug off if I want. Before I can answer, he adds with a grin, but I'm still buying the coffee. That's non-negotiable. I laugh, real, unguarded, bouncing off the kitchen tiles. It startles me how easy it comes. Of course you are. You'd probably put it in the lease if you could. Clause 5, he says solemnly. Tenant must accept daily caffeine offerings from across the hall alpha. I snort so hard tea threatens to escape my nose. He grins, pleased with himself, and the eggs somehow don't burn because the universe apparently favors him. We sit down at my tiny table with mismatched mugs and plates, like kings of this miniature kingdom. The toast is salvageable. The eggs are perfect. The coffee is, annoyingly, exactly how I like it. We bicker over who washes the dishes, though it's obvious he will, and equally obvious I'll complain about how he stacks them afterward. He smirks when I point this out. Endless cycle, he says. Keeps us busy. You're assuming there's an us, I counter, though my grin gives me away. There is, he says, simple as breathing, and I don't flinch. Later, after he leaves for work, I linger by the door. The apartment hums its usual chorus, radiator warming, fridge muttering, the stairwell bulb buzzing faintly through the walls. For years doors meant danger, locks meant survival, silence meant punishment. Today, none of those things fit. I touch the handle and open it, not because I need to go anywhere, but because I can. The hall is bright, unthreatening, ordinary. A neighbor clatters by with laundry. Someone's kid drags a toy truck. Luke's door stands opposite, steady, unassuming, as if last night and this morning weren't tectonic shifts in my private world. For the first time in longer than I care to measure, I don't brace for what's on the other side. I don't scan for threat first. I don't calculate escape routes. The act of opening feels simple, not like an audition for survival. A door, just a door. And yet, also a door to this. To laughter and coffee and arguments about cilantro. To a man who waits without circling, who stands outside doors until you're ready to let him in, who teaches patience not with speeches, but with silence that doesn't abandon. I close it gently, not in fear but in habit, and lean my forehead against the wood. My breath leaves steady. My chest doesn't argue with it. I grin at nothing, because it feels like everything. Not yours, I whisper to the empty room, repeating the mantra that used to be armor. Then softer, with a weight that makes it new, but today, I choose to stay, and for once the quiet doesn't echo back like loneliness. It sounds like a promise,